Hello and welcome to Super Rugby Round 5 Preview Podcast. I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, a website, podcast, Twitter account and YouTube channel bringing you the best in predictions, rugby predictions and opinion. Don't forget to subscribe on your favourite podcasting app so we can drop into your phone every week. And also please leave us a 5-star review. Other stars are available, but why would you want to do that? If you want to watch what happens behind the scenes, this show is live on YouTube at 8 p.m. New Zealand time every Thursday. And joining me this week, we have a very South African feel. Actually, we went first. I'm going to switch the order around from how we went last time. So Fila is joining me from Grit Sports. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. And yourself, Paul?
Very good, thank you. And you're just for those who haven't met Fila before, he is actually a referee, so we can ask him all of those kind of law stuff. In Lions territory. And also joining us is the man underneath the yellow cap. It's Jax. How you doing, sir?
I'm well, and you, Paul?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. And so the yellow cap is actually a Bulls supporter, which I don't know why he has a yellow cap when he supports a blue team. So well, perhaps we'll have another show another time going to the how do we feel come up with Grit Sports when Grits is some sort of South USA kind of breakfast cereal, and we have the yellow cap in Blues Bulls territory. It all just doesn't make sense.
You're on form today.
And hello to those in the live chat. Hi, Floyded Pink, and also Brett. How you doing? Yes, Brett, all the way from South Africa, is joining us. So he'll be happy and be able to understand the accents, unlike some of us. So kicking us off this weekend, on Friday night, we have the Chiefs versus the Bulls. And as we have a Bulls fan on here, Jacques, why don't you take us and tell us about the Bulls lineup they have for this weekend?
If I can start with last week, I must say I don't know what happened or what is going on. That should be the question, actually. But look, I think the starting lineup isn't too bad. I can see John has made quite a lot of changes, positional changes as well. I'm starting to really wonder about this Andre Pollard at fly off. After we saw him at inside center against the Lions, which I really thought was it actually worked as far as I'm concerned. But I can understand that there's a bit. He's only got Marnitz Boshoff, and so the depth there isn't too much. So it's a very the stage of the game, I think it's a very risky thing for the Bulls, especially if Marnitz isn't available, injured or whatever the case may be. My honest opinion, I think the Bulls will put up a good fight, maybe in the beginning or something, but I think it's going to go the same way it's gone the last few years. It will fade away, and the Chiefs will ultimately probably win this. Although I haven't been very convinced about the Chiefs yet.
You're getting onto all this kind of prediction stuff before you've even gone through the team. I mean, slow down,
well,
Cowboy.
There's not much to say, Paul. I mean, Jeepers, my team is dropping me badly. I mean, we go from the Hurricanes, throwing the ball around like crazy. And then I think we did very well against the Lions until a certain Mr. Van der Vestes and Rasta Rasavenge felt they needed some, airtime for themselves, and then last week happened. I don't know which Bulls team was that got let loose there in Brisbane. But anyway, let's just skip that.
Yeah, I think to me it's quite an experienced starting lineup. If you look at the back line, Gallant's got 21 caps. You've got Ismail 31, Creel obviously 48 caps going towards his 50th. The captain Obadell comes back with 34 caps. Andre Pollard with 34 caps. I mean, it's a pretty experienced back line. Again, if we look at the pack, again, they've all got quite a few caps. But when you get to the bench and you come on to places like Van Vuren, 8 caps. Akbala, if he plays, it's his debut. Van Staden, 3 caps. Papier, 3 caps. Libok, it's his debut. It looks like a very thin bench to me.
But
sorry if you don't mind. I hear what you say, and caps aside, I mean, I think we need to look at the form. Gallant is just, I don't know, he hasn't impressed me so far this season. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's just still getting out of rustiness. He came off the bench against the Lions. Was a bit of a no-show. Sorry to be very frank. Against the Reds, he was a bit better, more involved. So let's hope. Maybe this will be the game where his season ignites. Because we really need him, and I think as South Africans we know what his potential is because we saw it last year. But this is actually the year where he's going to have to prove himself. Super Rugby, because last year was Currie Cup. He's top try scorer for the Currie Cup and all that. But this is Super Rugby. This is a whole different ball game. So we need to find out if Galant is the guy that we are looking for, because we know what his potential is, but he needs to show it.
So I
forgot the one.
I know Phil had some points to make.
Yeah, maybe go.
As a Lions supporter, what are your thoughts on the Bulls lineup?
I think the Bulls are actually not doing that bad from what I'm seeing. Last week I think they were quite unfortunate. They did the small things right. They actually dominated up front. Their scrumming was good. Their lineouts was good. But I think maybe a bit of jet lag set in the later stages of the game. You're playing the Reds at home, so you kind of expect that from a team that's traveling from South Africa all the way to Australia. But and now they had to fly to New Zealand to play against the Chiefs this weekend. So for me, when it comes to the caps and experience-wise, I think they've got the right team, and they're building on that. I think the guys will have learned a couple of lessons from playing against the Reds. To go to play a full 80, not just 60 minutes, and then you rest on your laurels, basically. So, for me, I think against the Chiefs, if they can try and dominate up front, the Lions will be, the Blue Bulls will stand a chance. But like John Mitchell said against Hurricanes, that when you play against New Zealand opposition, you must be able to go toe-to-toe, pound for pound, for full 80 minutes. You can't just play 60 and think that, no, now it's time to relax. So you have to go full out 80 minutes performance, an 80-minute performance, and actually make sure that you grind out those small things, ruck time, set piece, scrums and lineouts. So if you focus on those parts and you make sure that you get your ball, you don't lose ball at a point of contact, and make sure that, even when Galant comes into the team, you can see a bit of spark when he starts joining the backline at first receiver at times, because I feel like Boshoff doesn't really ignite that Bulls backline. So when Galant just moves, when Galant moves from fullback and comes in at first receiver, there's a bit of spark there. You can see a little bit that the guys are actually getting good go forward ball.
Yeah, Brent also puts in here that Galant's looking a bit flat-footed. Looks like he's lost a yard or two, not quite up to full speed yet. But that's we should move on to having a quick chat about the Chiefs side, because we're already nearly a third of the way through the show and we're still on the first team. Having a look at the Chiefs. That's the only thing that matters, I know, Jax. No, none of the other teams really matter, do they? Looking at the Chiefs one, obviously they have something like 15 or so injuries, players out through injury. So we are looking at some Adrian Ross and Tavo, the starting props with 8 and 2 caps, and then you've got guys coming off the bench with only 1 cap between the two of them. So you're right, up front, especially at scrum time, is going to be a time where the Bulls can take advantage and need to take advantage at that point, because there is definitely some inexperience there on the amongst the Chiefs, and it's going to be interesting to see how Falcon goes in his second start at number 10. I'm not sure. Are you happy to see Damien McKenzie at number 15, or are you more scared about seeing him at 10?
For me, I think McKenzie, but it doesn't do too badly at 10. But at times he tries to do too much, like throwing the ball around. So when there's a pass, yes, do make the pass, but when there's people, or when this defense is right up in your face, I mean, there's no need to be throwing the ball around. Take it in, settle, reset, get the ruck set, get the ruck formed, get the ball out again. But sometimes he just throws the ball around for no reason. So maybe at fullback he'll be much safer, but it'll be interesting to see how I think it's Tian Falcon that's playing at Fly-Off this weekend. Yeah, so he's also quite a special player as well. So the Lions the Bulls number 10 needs to up his game. The Bulls backline, it's usually their forwards that do the work, and you see a lot of your Snyman and your De Jager, mostly either at first receiver or second receiver. So they actually get the good go forward ball for the Lions because they're nice and big, so they go over the advantage line. But we need to see the flower of the Bulls actually getting the line to move. Try something. I mean, be innovative. Have imagination. Let's showcase the skills that the Blue Bulls have in the backline. I mean, we've got Andre Pollard, who started playing international rugby in 2014. It's 4 years later, and we still haven't seen any spark from him. So, I mean, let's get that backline.
To be fair, he lost the whole season with a broken shoulder. So whilst he's had 3-4 seasons, he's only played 3 of them. But I think what we're going to see on Friday night is the Bulls trying to hold on to the ball. They're not going to want to kick to Damien McKenzie deep. I think they're going to hold on to the ball. I think we're going to see the Chiefs trying to have as much broken players, trying to make the Bulls play from deep and force the Bulls into mistakes in their own half. I think that's what we're going to see. Both teams have got weak benches. We've talked about the Bulls bench. Quickly talking about the Chiefs bench, they only have one player on their bench that has got more than 10 caps. All the rest of them they've got 3 players on 1 cap. A guy hasn't got any. Another guy has got 2 caps. It's a very inexperienced bench on there. I think so for both teams. When it comes to that last quarter of the game, they can't expect the bench to come on and win it for them. They've got to have both sides are going to want to have the lead going into that last 20 when all the subs come on, because they just don't have the experience to come on and turn a game really. Some of them might do, but you don't really know what you're going to get because they are all rookies.
I must say, you're giving me some hope here for some weird reason. I don't know, but as a South African, I must remind myself we are playing against New Zealanders here who are just artificially intelligent rugby players by birth. So, as they can all have 0 caps and they probably will still beat any South African team almost. Or probably the Lions. Look at that face. It says it all.
No, I think you're right. All Kiwis have sort of 3 parents, mum, dad, and a rugby ball. But we'll have to see. Okay, into predictions time, guys. I've gone Chiefs by 10. What are your views?
I'll go Chiefs by 8.
Jacques?
Yeah. My prediction might change later. I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this, but I'll go Chiefs by 6.
Oh dear.
I'm pushing but I think it could be more.
I didn't manage to give you enough confidence to back your team.
No, I'd say my prediction might change. So I'll read my preview later.
So there isn't absolutely check out the Yellow Cap rugby blog for Jack's previews and all this kind of stuff. He'll go into a bit more detail than my predictions I did the other night, which is just literally a one-liner in each one. So we haven't got an Australian game on Friday night, unfortunately. So we go on to Saturday, where we have the Highlanders versus the Crusaders. Just a quick note, folks. There will be a live post-match reaction to that on the DrivingMaul YouTube channel, but it won't be me hosting it. I've got relatives in town, so Ashwin will be hosting with Herman. It's the first time ever that I've had someone else host a show on my YouTube channel. So with my little baby, a little bit nervous, but I'm sure Ashwin will do a fantastic job. Looking at the lineups for the any sort of players jump out at you from the Highlanders you think are going to be influential for the game?
Well, these two sides. I mean, it's a South derby. There's a lot of history involved between the two teams. But for me personally, after Crusaders losing against the Hurricanes last weekend, the Crusaders losing last weekend was had a result of them losing the two key players like Whitelock and Crotty early in the game. That kind of stabilized their whole system. And now looking against the Highlanders team that hasn't lost a game, yeah?
Correct. They've won their first two games, that's right.
Yeah. So they're the only unbeaten side currently. Who else is unbeaten?
The Rebels have also won all of their games. The Rebels have won 3 games.
Nobody thinks of Australia. So the Rebels and Highlanders are unbeaten. But, I think Scott Robinson has instilled a very good culture within the Crusaders. So I think they'll bounce back for this weekend. And the Highlanders are still playing at home, so it'll be quite tough for Crusaders. But the last time these two teams played, Crusaders won. They won in Dunedin and they won in Christchurch, right?
Yep, correct. But it was a bit of a miracle long-range drop goal from that was required to win it.
Mitch Hunt.
By Mitch Hunt, who will be starting, obviously, this weekend.
But have you seen the difference, though, between how Crusaders play with Richie Mo'unga and how different the style of play is when Mitch Hunt is at the pivot? Because there's a huge difference. And when Mitch Hunt is there, I don't get to see their backline. I don't get to see the Crusaders backline. And they tend to move, they shift from backline play to concentrate more on their forward play. Because if you look at their first try against the Hurricanes, they started mauling more. They started picking up and going. They started using their big guys as first receivers. And then they put all their focus into their forward play, and then they kind of forget about the backline. That's the difference for me. When Richard Mo'unga is playing, you get to see the backline. When Mitch Hunt is playing, they tend to focus more on the forwards. Yeah,
I mean, Richard Mo'unga has definitely got star factor, X factor about him. But obviously he's out for a while. So lost Crotty's out with concussion as well. So they've lost their 10-12 pivot. And I think Hunt, Bateman in that 10-12 in those 10-12 jerseys for the Crusaders are going to be the key players in this one, and are potentially and are definitely the weakness in this Crusaders side. The other thing I'd like to say before I throw the Highlanders to Jacks is I'm very disappointed to see Whitelock back. Players who go off having failed at HIA, I would like them to definitely be off the following weekend. I don't like seeing players who have gone off for a concussion to come back the next week. And so I'm disappointed he's back for that purpose. But that is a strong Crusaders pack, and that's where their strength is going to lie. We are going to see lots of mauling from them.
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't really know what to say because they've lost both teams. They've got great players. I think the backlines are going to be very interesting to watch because last week I watched that Highlanders Stormers game, and that the Highlanders line is really, really looking good to me. Well, that's my opinion. And with Mo'unga and Crotty out, that's going to be interesting to see how they're going to make up for it. But I think it's going to be it should be a tight game. That's all I can see happening here because most of these New Zealand derbies tend to be very close, and it's great rugby. That's the one thing I know we're going to definitely see.
So. I think this is going to be the Highlanders team. Obviously, they've got their 6 All Blacks, so they're 4 All Blacks in Aaron Smith, Sopoaga, Ben Smith, and Nholo, all in the side. Now, the point about that is they're all backs. So to me, this looks a bit like the Crusaders forwards versus the Highlanders backs. Because I think that it's good that the Highlanders have got Ash Dixon, Elliot Dixon back. That'll help them. But you've got to definitely say you'd rather have the Crusaders pack any day of the week. So I think that's what it's going to come down to. Me, I'm going with the home side by 3 points. Jacques, which one and by how many?
So I'm going for the Highlanders. So yeah, I think I'm going to also back them maybe by 5.
Tough.
And Filler?
Tough. I'll go with let me go with the Crusaders by 3.
And Floyd in Pink has gone Crusaders by 12. Brent's gone Crusaders by 2. So in the chat, they're going Crusaders, but yep, we're split on the show. We then head over to Australia for Brumbies versus the Sharks. The Sharks haven't named their lineup yet, but for me, they've been disappointing this season. Do you think going on tour is going to help galvanise them get away from home, or does it, or is the airfare going to hurt them again?
For me, the Sharks have always been one of the best travelling sides in South Africa. So I don't know. I think the Brumbies are also struggling. So it's 2 struggling teams that will be playing against each other this weekend, because I didn't really take anything special out of the Sunwolves win from last weekend for the Sharks. So I think this will be a true test. Their first test was against the Lions, a true test, and against the Waratahs, well, they were quite iffy. And then Sunwolves can't really take much out of the Sunwolves game, but I think this will be another true test after the Lions game to see where they actually are. Is there any improvement after losing to the Lions? Dupree did say, the coach, did say that they're still making the same mistakes that they made against the Lions. Hence, they lost against the Lions. And it'll be interesting to see where they put Toy. Will they put him at loose head, where he struggled against at tight head, where he struggled against the Lions, and after that they actually put him back to his normal position. So it seems like they're also not finding the right people in the front row, because Aka van der Merwe also started at 2 last weekend. He had a Stormer, but he doesn't start against the more serious sides. So it's also it'll be interesting to see who they start in their front row, which will be crucial, but very, very important for a South African team playing against an Aussie team, knowing that South Africans are more bulkier and don't like to dominate up front. And with the Sharks backline, I think they won't change much. I think it will still be the same backline. They've got exciting backs. They've got very, very exciting players. I don't know whether Dupree will start with his son at 10, or will he start with Bosch, Cohen Bosch. So they've got an exciting backline. They've got the players. They've got a capable squad to beat any side, actually. Yeah. But the problem lies within the structures during game time. So, and the player's psyche, I guess.
So yeah, I think up front is where I think they could probably get away with trying him again at loose head because the Brumbies are missing their first and second choice hookers. So scrimmaging wise, I don't think they're going to be that strong. So their starting hooker, it's his debut as run on, and they've also got a rookie on the bench as well. So there's definitely the set piece is an area that I would be targeting if I was the Sharks. But it's interesting seeing Leofano has moved to 12 rather than 10. So there's plenty of playmaking ability in this side and decision making. I guess they're going to be looking at trying to stretch the Sharks as much as possible and try and get their forwards to be running around. Is my guess is how they're going to try and play this one.
If I can just throw something in here, what was interesting about the Reds Bulls game was to see how the Reds, after the first 2 weeks, how poor they were looking compared to when they were playing the Bulls. It's almost the game just was amazing from the Reds. I mean, it's like they upped their game completely. They were a much better side than any of the previous rounds. And I would actually like to see if this is gonna be the same case with the Brumbies. If they will, because they've been poor. I mean, I honestly, I hear what Phila says and all that. I know the Sharks weren't actually that good against the Sunwolves, even though they got to 50. It's just, I don't think the Brumbies are that good. Honestly, I don't think, and I'm sure the Sharks are going to win this easily. But I could be wrong. That's why I would like to. That's why I'm curious to see if the Brumbies are going to do the same as what the Reds did against the Bulls. Are they going to lift their game, and are they going to actually look a better side than they have so far?
But it was
also something I would.
It was easy for the Reds to lift their game after they've had a guy red carded in the first game and a yellow card. So I mean, they were starting from a very low point and from an artificially low point, so you could see how they could raise their game. Whereas the Brumbies have had 3 games, admittedly all on the road. This is their first home game of the season, but they've had their full team, and they've been able to. They should have been able to play to their maximum ability. They haven't been missing players for whole games for red cards and stuff. So I don't see the upside that you're talking about that the Reds had.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm just curious to see if they will, but I doubt it. The other thing that I've started to notice is, like, I think with Robert, the coach, De Priya, if you think back to when Cohen came into the Sharks side, he was very reluctant to give him a start until Cohen eventually proved himself. And I almost see the same thing happening with Akker van der Merwe at the moment, who made a very big decision in his rugby career to move from the Lions to the Sharks, where he's finding himself more on the bench, unfortunately, than in the starting lineup, although we saw him last week. So I'm hoping that he's going to get another start, because I think he's proved himself, and everyone knows what talent is. He's a super hooker. He's not a Malcolm Marx, but for the Sharks, I think he's really good. And I mean, I'd actually, if I was Robert, I would actually dare a bit with Cohen at 10, maybe. And if he has to play Robert, why not chuck him in at 15? I mean, what's been nice to see is how the two have been playing together. It's really nice to see how they complement each other and how they are willing to actually play together as well. You can clearly see how they using each other's strengths and abilities to work together.
Wasn't Bosch? I think Bosch was on the bench the first 2 games. So it was only in the latter part of the game when he's come off the bench they've actually played together. I can't remember whether he started or whether he was on the bench last time.
No, he started.
He started last weekend, did he? But
at 15, I think the last 2 games he started at 15.
Okay, maybe it's just the first one. But anyway. We need to get on to predictions time. Now you guys have talked to me. I think I've got my prediction wrong, but I went Brumbies by 3 because of the trouble factor for the Sharks. You've got me doubting my prediction now, but it's too late. I've gone public with a video yesterday, so I've gone Brumbies by 3. How have you done, boys?
I still believe that the Sharks travel well. I really believe they travel well. And they've got the players to actually upset the Brumbies at home. But I mean, last 10 minutes, Brumbies should fire, and it's going to be a close game. For me personally, I think it's going to be a close game. I'll say Brumbies by 2.
Give us a team. Okay, Brumbies by 2, and Jax.
I think this is a game that the Sharks are definitely targeting for a win, and I mean, I'm gonna go Sharks by 10.
Sharks by 10. Oh, by 2 scores. Well, we will see.
What's gonna happen for them? What?
We then have the first game in South Africa. The Stormers versus the Blues. The Blues coming off that win over the Lions last weekend. So can the Stormers restore South African pride? They've got some lock Peter de Stef de Toit back, and flanker. I can't say this. Wiese. Anyway, however you say it. Visa. There we go. Just like the credit card. Visa credit card. But we don't actually have the official squads yet. But what are you expecting from the Stormers against the Blues?
Stormers are traveling back.
Go for it, Phil.
Are you going? All right. Well, Stormers are traveling back from a horrible tour. Jeez, it's been horrible. Yes. I mean, their first game against the Waratahs, they should have beaten the Waratahs, I believe. But I think they were quite apprehensive in their approach, because against the Waratahs, they waited for the Waratahs to come at them, and they played the catch-up game against the Waratahs. And then last week against the Highlanders, they actually were in the lead at around the 20th minute. I think they were leading like 15-10 or something like that. And I just don't understand. They just made silly mistakes, first of all. There were kicks that didn't go out. They kicked to the wrong person as well. The halfback was kicking to Naholo the whole time, and Naholo was winning the ball in the air. And when he wins the ball in the air, he beats his first defender. And now already everyone is on the back foot. But nonetheless, there were too many mistakes from the Stormers. They could have won at least 2 games, I believe, because against the Highlanders it was a 50-50 game, which they just crumbled in the last 10-15 minutes of the game. But coming back from that, I think the morale will not be as high as I would like them to be, and the Blues, on the other hand, will be quite stoked that they actually beat one of the top performing South African sides last weekend. So the level of motivation between the two sides, I think the Blues are on a high, and when the Stormers are trying to regather themselves, and hopefully they can put up a good fight this weekend. But yeah, it's going to be tighter. It's going to be very tight, because the Blues are on a high. I mean, you're even wearing their jersey over there, Paul. So yeah.
Well, I'm a Blues fan. So yes, for those of you on the podcast, yes, I'm in an old school Blues jersey. You can see the old Rebel, when it used to be Rebel Sports Super Rugby, a long time ago. So yes, the old Super 14s. So it tells you how long ago this was. Yes. The Blues, fantastic result for them last weekend. They really so to go over and beat a side that's been in the final for the last 2 weekends, and they were on the road. Last 2 weekends, the final for the last 2 years on the road is a massive victory for them. There's a lot of people saying that they were very happy with how the Blues kept their head and were cool and calm at the end there. I disagree. I think the Blues played their normal throw it around game and try things, and it just clicked. And they also got a bit lucky. Let's be honest. The Lions in that last 2 minutes charged down a kick and could very easily got a try, but he knocked it on. So to try and say this was some sort of cool, calm, and collected, like an Ireland 32 phases followed by a drop goal to win a game, this was not that by any stretch of imagination. This was them playing catch-up rugby, and it clicked, and so it worked for a change. So this isn't a Blues side coming into the Stormers game with a lot of composure. They'll have confidence, but it's not a composed side. It's a side that will try their arm, and who knows if it will come off or not.
But for me, just to add in there, Paul, I mean, to play that running game the Blues did in the Highveld, I mean, you don't actually see that a lot from New Zealand. They played a full 80 in the Highveld, and that was impressive for me. That was very impressive.
That's a very impressive fitness, but not necessarily impressive composure. Yes, Jax?
When I watched that game, and obviously with the end result, in a way I wasn't really that surprised, because to me, watching the game, I mean, looking at the likes of Sonny Bill, who I thought had one of his bad games. You know, we didn't see a hell of a lot of the Sonny Bill we all used to. So I don't know why that was, but my conclusion at the end of that game was, especially after last year's Super Rugby final, with the Crusaders. Everyone comes to, especially the teams that come to the IFL. There's this thing in everyone's minds that obviously the altitude plays a big factor. I just want to ask you guys this question, if you agree with me or not, but I kind of got the feeling that the Blues almost held back for the first 60 minutes. They made sure that they stayed in contact. And then they just said, okay, now we're going to empty the tank in the last 20. Because they knew that if they can keep up for 60 minutes and then give it all in the last 20, they could possibly win this match, which ended up happening. I mean, they literally won the match in the last 10, 15 seconds of the match, which is obviously a full 80 minutes. But I'm just saying, do you guys think that there was a bit of, that they held themselves a bit back? They didn't exert themselves as they would normally. And knowing that they are playing the Stormers at coastal level the following week, which is going to suit them better than a Highveld match. There's no burning lungs and stuff that they're going to have to experience this week coming. So, you know what? I think this is a planned. The New Zealanders have planned their trips very well. And don't be surprised if this happens again this season.
No. I think I can actually agree with you, Jacques, on that part, because I think it was at some point by halftime the score was what, 28-10, I think. 8 Lions were leading by 18 points.
The Lions were ahead quite far. I mean, they shouldn't have lost.
And if you look at it, actually, they did kind of hold back a bit because they didn't want to exert a lot of pressure and run out of gas by the last 20 minutes. And the Lions went flat out. They went flat out, and then they kind of relaxed when they saw the 18-point margin, because then that already plays a psychological effect on your mind, because now you're thinking, okay, we can rest on our laurels because now we've got an 18-point lead, and these guys are not going to come back. We're playing in the Highveld, so we don't expect the Blues to cause any damage. And then out of the blue, the Auckland just come out of nowhere. They start throwing the ball around.
There were a couple of key scores. I mean, the score before half time was absolutely crucial to pull 7 back there with Akira Iwani. One of the things you've got to remember about this Blue side is you've got Akira Iwani, you've got Rieko Iwani, you've got some you've normally got Pulu, but obviously he's injured at the moment. But you've got some serious sevens players. So when it's a dry game, when it's a hard track, when they're able to if you give them a bit of space, they can hurt you. It's when you've got a wet game and it's an arm wrestle, then it's going to be a different story about learning really what the character of this Blue side is. Sorry.
What do you think of Rieko at 13 instead of the wing?
That's where he wants to be. And looking at the options that the Blues have on the wing, I'd rather have him at 13 because he's better there than Moala. And when you've got Nanai, Duffy on the wings, and Collins giving a bit more stability at the back, I don't like Nanai at the back. He's just too. I just don't feel safe with him there. I think he's a better option. For the All Blacks, I probably want him on the wing, but for the Blues, I'm happy with him at 13. So I've wearing my Blues jersey. Perhaps this is a bit more heart over head, but I've gone Blues by 3. There's some particularly good comment in the chat here that says, how often have we seen a team punch above their weight one week only for their socks to fall off and fail the following week? Yep, Brett, that could very well happen here. But anyway, I've gone Blues by 3. Boys, what are your predictions?
I'm gonna go Blues by 7. I don't think I don't know if this. I think the tour did a lot of damage to the Stormers' confidence, and they're also still lacking some key players in Eben and all those oaks. So once those guys are back, things might change for them. But
yeah, they've got quite a few. Phila?
Right, I'll go with Auckland Blues by 2.
Oh, so we've all gone Blues. Wow, I'm a bit surprised by this. This is not.
So Phila's bargaining on a Stormers slight win so that his Super Brew at least gets a marginal point.
Some comments in the chat. We're not running late. We're running over. We started on time, so don't worry. It's just a longer show than normal. So we're going to zoom through the next one. Phil, I'm sorry, but Lions versus Stormers, there's not really much to say here, apart from the fact that the Lions are going to win by a lot. I've got Lions by... So, yes. What did I say? Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. It's the Lions versus the Sunwolves. There's not really much to say. The Sunwolves are the only side in Super Rugby that hasn't had a win yet. They're not going to pick one up this weekend. So, apart from saying the margin, I don't think there's much to preview here, unless there's a particular player you want to call out. But I'm going Lions by 35.
Jeez.
Wow.
Well, look, they lost by 32 points to the Sharks, and the Lions are better than the Sharks. Therefore, 35. Boys,
I'll say 20.
It's a South African team, South African mentality. They're gonna be overconfident, yet they're gonna slip up, and they're gonna win easily. Yes, I'm not saying they're not gonna win, but 35. Wow.
I say 20.
What did you say? 20. Okay, I'm gonna go 18.
Jeez, I'm the one that's the most positive for the South African side there. Cool. We have 2 more games to cover, and we're already 10 minutes over. So Jaguares versus the Reds. We've got no squads up here. For the Reds, they've decided to tour with their captain, who's come back from suspension, and I've just gone blank as to what his name is. But Lau, that's right, Higginbotham has come back into the side, but Lau, or how he is pronounce his name, the other guy who got banned, hasn't gone on tour. So,
for me, Jaguares at home, I'll give it to Jaguares. Against an Australian team, I'll give it to the Argentines at home by at least 7 points.
Shax?
Oh, it's a difficult one, which I haven't really thought about.
I
would like to back the home team, so yeah, I'll go by 2. I'm going to do the super brew thing.
I've gone Jaguares by 3. What I think is going to be important for the Jaguares here, just like they did against the Waratahs, is to get a good start. I think they are a confidence team, and that we've seen in the first 2 rounds when a couple of refereeing decisions go against them. If they get a yellow card and they're down, they can lose their heads for a bit. So, being a confidence team, I think they need to get that. They need to get that lead and have a good start. If the Reds have a good start, then I think they're in with a good chance. I think it's going to come down probably to that first 10, 15 minutes to see who gets the first couple of scores, and if one of the teams can get a bit of a lead.
Yeah, for me, I think the Jaguares they're a good side at home. I mean, it's very difficult to beat them at home. I mean, even the Lions have struggled to beat the Jaguares at home. So for me, if Jaguares had to play all their games at home, they would make playoffs, I believe. So against the Reds, I don't think the Reds will trouble them a bit, but I think Jaguares will take this one at home. They're a difficult team to play in Buenos Aires.
I agree. I'm going Jaguares by 3, but I do think that the first 2 scores are going to be the important piece in this game, rather than other games where it's the last 20 minutes. Final game, Waratahs versus the Rebels. The Rebels, the most successful team in Super Rugby so far this season, with 3 wins and no losses. The Highlanders only got 2 wins. So we have no news. It's all a bit of guesswork. But I will be doing a live post-match reaction to this one, and I will be hosting. I've not got a guest yet, but I'll sort that out before then. What are your thoughts on this game, boys?
For me, the Rebels have been in fine form. I think David Wessels, their head coach, has bought quite valuable players to complete the Rebels team. I mean, Murphy at 8 has been unbelievable for that forward pack. Has been unbelievable at 8, and then Guinea has been very, very good, and he gets that backline going. He knows when to give it to the forwards. He knows when to pass it to the backline, and the decision making is quite important, and they actually seem to execute quite well. From set piece to open play, they seem to execute quite well as a team. Even though they lost their captain, I think it's Coleman, in the earlier stages of Super Rugby, but they still have quite a very solid. They've laid a solid foundation, And now it's created in the past 3 to 4 weeks, it's created a winning culture. They've won away against the Sunwolves. They've beaten the Brumbies. They've beaten, and they're unbeaten. I mean, as we said earlier on in the podcast. So I'm very impressed with how the Rebels are playing, and I don't see Waratahs. Oof. Yeah, okay. I mean, Waratahs.
I'm going to be the voice of reason here. I want to talk about these Rebels. Okay, everyone's speaking up the Rebels and saying how wonderful and how great they are. So far, they've beaten the Reds, who had a man red carded and a guy yellow carded as well. And they had a man red carded. Both of those were in like the first sort of 20 or so minutes. They've beaten the Sunwolves, who everybody has beaten so far this season as well. And then they've played the Brumbies, who are on their third away game on the trot. And again, they beat the Brumbies by scoring 3 tries when the Brumbies had a yellow card. Otherwise, that game was close.
Yeah,
so
but
to me, I don't think these Rebels are quite as cracked up as people are making them out to be at the moment.
Nah, I think the thing is, Paul, once you start getting those wins under your belt, that creates confidence. And once you're confident, you go into the next game thinking we can actually win. So you're not going into the game doubting yourself. So I think the Rebels have that culture already now. Within the first 4 weeks of Super Rugby, they've got that culture set into the squad, into the squad. Yeah. So for me personally, I think they've got that winning culture. They're going to come into this game motivated. The Waratahs are coming all the way from Argentina, so travel factor might set in within the Waratahs. So the Rebels are going to be, I say, for the taking. Yeah. This is their game to lose, actually.
Okay, Jacques, are you so big on the Rebels, or do you think?
No, I don't know if we should call them the Rebels or the Force, because I mean, jeepers, that team, and with Dave Wessels there, but he's doing so well, and yeah, I agree 100% with Phila. Yeah, I hear what you say, Paul, but you know what? At the end of the day, wins add to a serious lot of the confidence. The travel factor, coming off a loss, nah. I also don't see this game. I mean, it's another Australian derby. How interesting is it going to be to watch? First of all, I'm not going to wake up for that one. Sorry, guys. But yeah, no, I'm 100% with Phila. Yeah, I don't see this game going any other way.
Okay, I do agree with you around the. And obviously, the dog agrees with you as well. I do agree with you that travel is going to be bad for the Waratahs. I do understand and agree that the Rebels will be feeling very confident. Personally, I think we'll learn a lot more about them in this game than we have in the last three. Sorry, this is the most. I think this is their first test of the season for them, really. The Waratahs, as always, will be down to how Hooper, Foley, Beale, and Folau play. It's 4 stars with a supporting cast that you can pretty much forget about or not even notice are there. I mean, Folau sometimes even refuses to. Will see a player open, look at him, go, "You're not either Beale or Foley. I'm not passing to you. Where are my mates?" It does. It comes like it's 4 good mates playing together with a bunch of other guys who they allow to be on the pitch with them. So that's a bit harsh, but it's going to come down to how those guys do. Really, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go Rebels are going to win it, but I think it's going to be close. I'm going to go by 3. I'm expecting bigger margins from you two.
I'm going to go to Rebels by 6.
By only 6? Wow.
But, yeah, no. I think I do think it will be close, but I just think the Rebels, they've got something going there with Dave and all those Force guys. Those that's gelling at the moment are working well. But I agree with you. It's going to be close. But like I said, the Rebels, to me, I just don't see the Waratahs doing it because they haven't been convincing at all.
I agree, but I think they do play the full 80 minutes. They are a team that goes all the way to the end, as we've seen against the Sharks, against the Stormers. Both those games were late tries. They even scored late tries against the Jaguares to deny them the losing bonus point. So they will play the full 80. The Rebels will not be able to set their foot off the gas in this one. Doesn't matter how far ahead they get. Sorry, and Philo, what's your Rebels by by 5.
The Rebels by 5.
Well, Floyd in Pink agrees with you. He's gone by 5 as well. I guess, and as you said, it's an Australian derby. Is the quality going to be any good? I mean, we've obviously got the one-sided Red Lions versus the Sunwolves, which won't be much of a spectacle. There could be some fantastic tries scored, but it'll be one-sided. It then comes down to which is going to be the worst other game. Is it going to be the Brumbies versus the Bulls? Is it? I've gone blank. The Brumbies versus the Sharks.
Sharks.
Two disappointing sides, or is it going to be the Waratahs versus the Rebels as being the most disappointing game of the weekend? We'll just have to wait and see. Cool, guys. Fila, tell us all about Grit Sports and why people should be finding your website, following on YouTube, Twitter, and all of that kind of stuff.
Grit Sports is an interactive sports portal. We focus on making video footage of telling athlete stories. Everything else that we do on the side, like your score updates, your current affairs in sports, is just basically to update people that are not aware of what's happening in the current affairs of the sports around the world. So, but our main portfolio is telling stories, taking video footage. If you go to our website, www.gritsports.co.za, you'll find a lot of footage of South African athletes. And our recent video is a Lions player, Hashiba Daimani. A previous video is of Apiwe Janji, who's a Lions wing. He's actually doing quite well. So visit our website, www.gritsports.co.za. Yeah.
There we go. As seen on the backdrop there. So yes, go to Grit Sports for the behind the scenes, the athletes' real stories, and get to know the players much better. Jacques, let us know about the yellow cap. That's actually a black cap that you have.
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity, Paul. And yeah, we pretty much, we don't do the same as Phil and them. We don't do the videos and stuff, but we try and give our opinion on happenings in the world of sport. And then obviously we've got Twitter. We've got a Twitter account which people can follow, where which we use as our main portal to update people as to what we're doing and what's the latest stuff they can read on our website. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll have our Super Rugby preview on a bit later today. So please keep an eye on our Twitter feed, and you'll get all the latest news there.
Yep. So for the best in South African.
Oh, sorry. Can I just mention one more thing? Sorry. As I will be posting this video on my preview as well. I just want to put a disclaimer that if my predictions on this video and on my preview don't completely agree, it's because I haven't had much time this week to think about everything, but it probably will be mostly the same. Well, 1 or 2 results. So keep an eye out.
Yes, as Jacques is the aging senile amongst us. No, sorry, no. Jacques.
I definitely am.
So I say, yeah. So the Yellow Cap, great place for your South African opinion on sports, more so than, as you say, the stories. Get there. I think you also covered cricket and other sports. It's not just a rugby site. So all your South African rugby opinion, head over to the Yellow Cap. Hi, bye. I've been Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, at DrivingMaul on Twitter. All comments down below. Always up for good old rugby chat. As I said, check out on the channel. We have live post-match reaction to the Highlanders versus Crusaders and the Waratahs versus Rebels this coming weekend. So do catch those. And I'm back here pretty much 8 p.m. most nights. It's all fun, live. Always up for good old chat. And if you do use the money kind of comment thing and things, we'll always talk about your comments. Anyway, enjoy whatever rugby you're watching this weekend.